This is War of the Suns, the Chinese War of Resistance, 1937 to 45, from MMP Games, and we're looking at the situation at the end of the 7th turn, which is actually the 8th turn because there was a turn 0 in the campaign game. Main things that have happened here: the random event was a Japanese biochemical attack on Nanking, which didn't produce any effect because the Japanese changed their strategy. Instead of trying to smash their heads on the ever increasing Chinese defensive systems in northern China along the Yellow River and in the area of Shanghai, they decided to start picking off economic stuff. Now, they carried on with their strategic bombing offensive and knocked out another 2 factories. So the Chinese domestic economic production is starting to creak a bit. There's still a few factories around, but they're starting to run out of depth. Now, admittedly, you can use foreign economic points as exchangeable. You don't want to run down your foreign economic points because they're vital for building elite units and replacing things like aircraft and armour and stuff like that. Not that the Chinese have a huge amount of those. Other things they did, they abandoned the sea blockade there of this port and actually took it by force with a series of amphibious landings. They put the sea blockade back onto this final Chinese port that is actually still functioning for the nationalists. Well, if anyone's interested, I have changed my colour coding of my little discs here. Yellows represent Chinese resource points or ports and things that are controlled by the Japanese. Red represent stuff controlled by the red Chinese, and blue by the nationalists. And you'll notice here that that's still got a yellow disc when it shouldn't. It should have a blue disc because it's still under nationalist control. I'll sort that out in a minute. So another thing the Japanese did is they launched an offensive, a couple of offensives against the Red Chinese forces in the northwest, and they really just carved them up. They went straight through them like a knife through butter, and they managed to capture the resource centre here, and that's sufficient to get them another 6 victory points, which brings them up to a total of 20 victory points so far. The nationalist Chinese sort of counter-attack. They had a go at launching offensive across the Yellow River, but they did a little bit of damage to the Japanese, but you got to retreat again because of the floods, the permanent severe floods in this area, and the fact there's no transport can go through it. You can't project supply or command through those hexes. They just pulled back in the end, so they wasted a lot of effort on that and achieved very little. They also strengthened their forces around Canton because they know the Japanese are going to try and take Canton soon, because that, if they can do that, they can put the foreign economic point importation into severe danger. I think they can actually stop it if they control Shanghai and Canton. So that's an interesting it's an interesting thing for the Japanese and the Chinese to keep an eye on in the future. In terms of construction of infrastructure, the Chinese have extended the railroad up north to contact with this new road that they've built into Burma, which is now at the Burmese border. They can't take it any further, but that should come in useful later when the Japanese blockade starts to really tighten up on them. don't think there's anything else that's happened of particular interest. No, it's just that the war's sort of, the Japanese are trying to use their strengths to their best ability and sort of minimise the Chinese strengths. So the Chinese strength is they've got a lot of units, they've got a lot of territory and depth, but not all that territory is valuable. Only specific hexes generate domestic economic points, and only certain hexes generate foreign economic points, and they are absolutely vital to the war effort. Those, all right, you can manage just with replacements, which are built up from your resource centres, but it's not. So did I say that your FEPs are dependent? Sorry, your DEPs are dependent on the towns, or not? The DEPs are dependent on the factories, and the resource centres provide the replacements. So it's like a stranglehold slowly being applied to the Chinese economy. But the thing is now, it's now spring of 1939. You can already see the impact of the tensions in Mongolia, and the fact that the Japanese number of command points has reduced significantly in the last couple of terms. Now, if that continues, it's going to restrict what they can actually achieve. And obviously, eventually the war in the Pacific's going to break out, which is going to really hamper their efforts in China.